Welcome back everybody to another edition of UFTA Premium. And in this week we're going to talk about a new concept called wildcard crops. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and define that. A wildcard crop is really simply put a placeholder crop until a harvest takes place and then another crop takes its place. So, and to be a little bit more specific with the definition, if you take a look at this example here we have fields that have harvested crops beside them. And what we're going to do is when we take a look at each individual crop or each individual field, we notice that there are varying amounts of crops at their site to indicate that yes, in fact, they had been harvested. Well, so long as a field has at least 3 crops that's been harvested to its side, that means that field is eligible for a wildcard crop. Okay? And what's going to happen is growers are going to make the decision to go ahead and do this. They do that by drawing a marker token, or a hunger token rather, from the draw pile and placing it on the field in question that they want to grow the crop on. Now, bear in mind, this isn't on their own fields. The whole point of this is to grow the crop on another grower's fields, an opponent, in fact. Okay? So bearing that in mind, if we follow this example here, if I were to place my wildcard crop marker token in the corner here, it means that I can grow either corn, cucumbers, or carrots on this particular crop. Now, how does that work out with the other growers? Well, let me explain it to you. The first thing we have to figure out is what happens during crop production, right? Because, you know, normally in the game, you've got 4 phases of essential equipment items being used in order to disc, seed, cultivate, and harvest the crops. Well, that's going to apply here as well, with the exception that all of those funds are going to go to the grower who owns the field that the wildcard crop is being grown on. That's the first bonus this grower gets. The second bonus they get is they get to collect 10% of whatever gets harvested from that wildcard crop. Okay? And so that amount, of course, is going to vary depending on where that crop is in the market. And, of course, whether or not UFTAs apply or there's other extenuating circumstances. Okay, so that takes care of crop production. What if you want to grow multiple crops? Or let's back up a second and let's just say, okay, we have the crop in the field. What if I was growing other crops? Let's say we take player B. Player B is the one that initialized the wildcard crop. And let's say they want to grow, or they want to harvest beans, squash, and their other item. Okay? Well, they're fine, they can do that. But the cost is going to be elevated. It's going to be the same as if they were growing it on their own field, which means, you know, that kicks in the rule of multiple field spaces being used and consequently an elevated price of production. Basically 2 tokens instead of 1 per work unit. Okay, so the next issue that comes up is whether or not growers can grow wild crops on multiple field spaces or multiple opponents' field spaces. And the answer to that is, at this point, yes. Yes, they can. So, in that respect, I think we're going to just leave it there. There's no other requirements except the basic one that, you know, 3 crops have to be present on the side of the field to indicate that they in fact were harvested. That's the thing that sets off the possibility of a wild crop. wildcard crop being grown. Okay, so that should do it. In order to initialize the wildcard crop, it can happen on a grower's turn at any point they wish, and it can happen in between turns if a grower so chooses. Right now, as far as I can tell, the wildcard crop is going to be only initialized when the field in question is face down, okay? And that's because in order to take advantage of the different phases of crop production to make sure they go to the right owner, we need to make sure all 4 phases are accounted for. And that can only happen when the field in question, its status is unharrowed, okay? So it hasn't been disked up yet. Alright everybody, that's going to wrap it up for the wildcard crops. If you have any further questions, just go ahead and leave those in the comments section below on YouTube. And until I see you next time, keep on playing Ukta. Have a good day. Bye everybody.